Alrighty, folks. Welcome back to Mushing Alaska's coverage of the 2024 Iditarod. Super excited to, in a way, kind of be going live from Nome. No, I am not live from Nome, but our guest today is, and I'm super excited. Before I bring him in, I'll just do a quick two things that I wanted to do. One is a shout out. I the other day set up a way for you all, if you're interested and would like to support what Sean and I are doing. There is a link in the description that you guys can click on. And recently there were two people that made a nice donation. I just wanted to give them a shout out. So shout out to Johnny and Sherry. They were collectively one donation. And then also to Sierra. I really appreciate that. And there's a lot of cost behind the scenes that goes into this, believe it or not. And so I am super appreciative of that. And then the other thing I wanted to do real quickly is a Sean update. If you guys haven't been on the if you haven't been on the live feed, oh boy, it's been fun to watch. So Sean's in White Mountain, and he has made friends with someone there at White Mountain, a kid by the name of Quinn, and it has been gold to listen to. At times it's like Sean's his best friend brother, and then at times it's like Sean's like, all right dude, can I just like have a moment by myself? So anyways, just wanted to do that real quick. I don't want to keep our next guest waiting for too much longer, so we'll welcome in, and we've had him on already, but welcome back, Josh McNeal. Thank you so much for joining us from Nome, man. How's it going there?
Oh man, it is a beautiful day out here in Nome. The sun's shining. It's about 0 degrees. There's hardly any wind. The town's just buzzed with excitement. You can definitely tell that it's Iditarod finishing week, so it's really fun to get back out here and be in the environment again. It's awesome.
That's awesome. So it sounds like a pretty nice day for the fans. Maybe the dogs wish it was a little bit cooler, but overall, I guess that's what you want. Man, it's great to see Dallas come in there at the finish line. Those dogs looking mighty fine. Uh,
Yeah,
some of those speeds, I'll be interested to see if anyone's able to compete with his speed from Safety to Nome,
yeah.
because the dogs were clocking it, man.
Yeah, he got here a lot faster, I think, than a lot of people thought. I mean, he got here about 40 minutes faster than I thought he was going to. And man, the dogs look so good coming up the chute and coming in under the burled arch. I mean, they all ate their snacks and they were all animated and their tails were wagging and they're just so happy. And that was such a nice looking dog team, which is exactly what you want to see from a dog team under the burled arch. I mean, and yeah, it couldn't happen on a more beautiful day to a more deserving guy after the race and the season that Dallas has had with all the challenges and everything. A huge congratulations to Dallas and the Seavey family as a whole. I mean, they have definitely earned this and is very deserved. So really, really awesome to witness that historical moment.
That's awesome, man. And I'm gonna slide in a picture here with. I thought there was a cool story that he. This picture is with Arrow and Sebastian, I believe, and you have a connection to Arrow. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Arrow is actually from a litter that Mitch and I split. So the male was his dog Pilot, and the female was my dog Athena. And we did that breeding back in 2020. So Athena was out of a breeding that I did with Mitch, where I took all the puppies from his dog Crisp and my dog Jenna. And so then we decided to split a litter, and there was 5 females and 1 male. And yeah, Mitch, we made the decision that he'd take the male and 1 female, and I got 4 females out of the deal. And so yeah, 3 of his siblings and his mom We're on Wally's team. So pretty cool connection, and pretty cool to see a dog that you know that I was half the breeder on, leading the championship team across the finish line as a 3-year old. So pretty awesome. And that's a really great picture.
Yeah, I mean, a big fat kiss right on the face. There's not a better picture, you know.
Yeah, just
Uh,
it's funny. I was watching him in the shoot and he acts, I mean, he is identical to how his sisters act. It's even though two completely different kennels, the way they act is identical. It was pretty funny to watch.
nice. And then I also he brought, this is Timon, I believe. Is that, did I think that was correct here? He took Timon when he first got there. He took Timon and like walked around, and then at the end he like picked up Timon and held Timon's paw. Um,
Yeah.
which
No, it's
Timon is a
okay.
dog that back when Sean was working with Dallas, that actually Jess and I, my wife, we were watching it tonight, and she was like, Timon, I remember Timon. Um, so,
Nice.
so another degree of separation there with the dogs.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was cool to see, and you know, what was the, I guess there wasn't like too much of a surprise with this victory. But the fans, how did the fans receive Dallas? How did you find the fair to be there, the
Oh man,
fanfare?
the energy was electric. I mean, everyone, all the tourists and a lot of locals came down. I mean, this is an iconic moment for Iditarod and the state of Alaska. I mean, he's won it 6 times now. I mean, that record has been there a long, long time, and so many people have tried to break past 4 and couldn't do it, and then Dallas did it. So I mean, it was an iconic moment. The crowd was electric. It was really cool to be a part of. Really cool.
Yeah. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that for a second? What are your thoughts in terms of, he just broke a record and now is creating his own. Uh, you know, I'm 37 and so is Dallas, and my dad pointed that out to me the other day. I was just like, oh, I thought for some reason I thought he had a couple more years on me. Um,
Hmm.
but man, I mean, like, that is quite an accomplishment to have done that, and to have done that at 37. You know, um,
Yep.
and I wouldn't know because I'm newer to the mushing world and more so familiar with the current age of it. But um, it's Doug Swinley that was 1-5. Is that right?
Uh, no. Why? I haven't had a lot of sleep the last couple of days. I'm drawing a blank here, so that's probably really bad. I know the mushroom was from Two Rivers. This is bad. This is embarrassing. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no worries. 5-time winner, Rick Swenson.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
All right, that
That's
was I should have come prepared as the host, so don't don't beat yourself up. But what my point of what I was trying to make there was that I would imagine when Doug or Rick, excuse me, won his fifth, he probably wasn't close to 37.
no. He was a lot older, for sure. And like I look at this record, and I mean Dallas. It's not like he was just setting up for this one last race, and then I don't think he's going to get out of dogs anytime soon. And he's young, so I mean he could stack up a record that will never be broken, because right now we haven't had um there's a lot of people the last couple of years that have won Iditarod once, but we haven't had someone that's won it twice yet in a long time. So and there was a lot of people, that were chasing that fifth win, that had really good dog teams that could never get to that fifth win, let alone the sixth. So, I mean, I think this record's going to stand for a long time. And I mean, essentially, it's Dallas against Dallas to break the record now.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, and uh, and you can kind of talk a little bit about like how expensive it is to be, full time mushing, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
for him, he's got at least 100 dogs, if not more,
He has
and
it.
so
Is a very successful tour business, and so he needs a lot of dogs for that, and that tour business feeds right into his racing program. So he's set himself up really good for the long term.
yeah, that's we got a couple things coming in from the chat. Uh, Kat, shout out to Kat. She's a super fan. And she sent this red lantern here in the back that I turned on for us tonight.
Nice.
Um, and then it's a random question from Alex, but she is wondering if did Jenna breed to alpha? There's a few Jennas in a few kennels. I guess she's curious about that.
No, we never did breed Jenna to alpha.
Okay, gotcha. And then Joby, shout out to Joby. She says hi, happy Tuesday. Yes, it's Tuesday. It's now Wednesday actually here in Georgia.
Oh man, you're up late.
Hey, listen, I'm dedicated, man. This I knew it was gonna be at least a solid week, if not more. And the mushers are suffering. I'm in my house enjoying watching the race. The least I can do is wait to see Dallas cross the finish line and then get a chance to talk to you about it. So what else was I gonna say? There was another bit of news that I do want to touch on, and unfortunate because this race has been overshadowed by it. But there was another passing of a dog. I forget the name here, but it was with Calvin Dougherty, and so he had to scratch, and it's a shame because there are a lot of assumptions that start happening when someone hears that a dog has died as a result of the race. And it's easy to point the finger and this and that. As we did the other day, I'm not really going to sit here and speculate, but
Yep.
having you on, I'm just curious when you hear that news for now a third time in this race, what goes through your mind?
I mean, it's heart-wrenching, right? I mean, these guys are out there doing what they love with dogs that, they love, and the dogs are doing what they love, right? And the Iditarod has not had a dog pass since 2019. So to have three within, 2 days of each other, um, it's tough. And obviously I'm not going to speculate, and I don't think it's healthy to speculate. These dogs are going to be taken a look at by the best veterinarians in the world, and they're going to figure out what happened, and hopefully from what they find out, we can learn from it and learn how to take care of our dogs better. um, I know all three of those guys, raced with them. I've seen them. They're all three really amazing dogmen. They've had, incredible mentors. They know what they're doing. And so I just, I really feel for them. And, I hope, people are just keeping them in their thoughts and their prayers. Because, having to scratch from the race is an emotional experience in itself. um, but losing a dog in the process um, is
Hmm.
really tough too. So it's kind of a double whammy. So
Yep.
I'm not going to speculate. We're just going to let science take its course and figure this out, and we're going to learn from it and get better as a sport from it.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think you and I were kind of talking offline beforehand. Of note is the necropsy came back for the two dogs that passed prior, and it wasn't a conclusive in terms of what happened. And so,
Yep.
uh, I again, in the effort to not speculate, but we were talking that the next move is probably some sort of a toxicology
Yeah,
testing or something like that.
yeah, they'll definitely. So my guess is that the dogs will be sent to Anchorage now, where they'll be able to, be taken a more in-depth look at. Um, you know, because facilities are limited on the trail, right? And so unless it's something glaringly obvious, it's going to be really hard to find out. So um, that they're going to find out what happened. There's no doubt about that. It just might take a little bit more time. Um, so they'll run a bunch more tests, and the Iditarod has been really good at communicating information, as they receive it. So once they know something, I'm sure that they will communicate that to us, and um, you know we'll all learn from it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your perspective and just kind of adding a little bit of depth on that. And I know that different sides of the party are all waiting for the results.
Yep.
And, one thing that I do want to go back and touch on this topic is we're talking about three dogs. Two of them are Seavey dogs, and one is a Reddington dog. I mean, these dogs have great lineage, come
Mm-hmm.
from a great background. They have, second to none in terms of some of the best care and treatment out there. So, before we start, are quick to point the finger and throw blame at people. Let's just wait and see what happens. And, you know, regardless of what happens, it doesn't take away from the dogmen that they are. I mean, Hunter is a very well respected musher. Isaac has worked 6 years under Dallas, and you see what Dallas is doing. And Calvin, his father ran the Iditarod. He's lived and grown and breathed Alaska. So
Yep. And I mean, he's worked for Mitch for several years. He raised a lot of those dogs since they were puppies. Um, so yeah, I don't want it to detract away from those guys. And it's not a reflection of how they are as a musher or as a person, you know. Um,
sure, yep.
yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you touching on that. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about it, but I do think that it is the right thing to do. Um,
Yeah.
but let's go back and kind of talk a little bit about the race. And, we talked about Dallas winning. We can kind of come back to Dallas because I do have some more questions on Dallas. But I just pulled up the race standings, and you can kind of see them with the ticker below. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and get a live update on the ticker, or excuse me, on the tracker. We've got Matt 13 miles outside of Nome, so he's
Yep.
making his way in. And you and I were talking about that before we went live. Um, you and I have been in touch quite a bit throughout this. I'm super appreciative. I feel like I've probably been bugging the heck out of you, but
Oh no, man, I enjoy it.
well, I appreciate it. So one thing we were talking about is like, where are some bigger power moves that are going to happen, whether it's Dallas or anyone else? And well, we got our answer with Matt Hall. He took off out of Koyuk with Jesse Holmes. And in fact, Jesse was leading. I think he took off maybe like half an hour, 25 minutes earlier.
Yep, and got into Elam before Matt.
Yep. But I think that Jesse is kind of playing it cool and more on the conservative side. So he had a break there, and Matt hit the full send button, and
Yep.
he rocked a. I ran the math on it. Hopefully my math was right as you were talking about. Not getting a lot of sleep. Same here. But if the math was right, it was a 13-hour and 37-minute run. And you know, I say that like it was a one run. It was one run, but talk about a run like that. You're not going for 13 hours entirely straight. You're stopping and taking micro breaks. You're giving them snacks. You're like, give
Yeah,
me give me some background there.
yeah. So I mean, every 2 3 hours, you're stopping and letting them roll in the snow and snacking them, and like you're not just running 13 hours straight. And um, so yeah, they're stopping, getting little breaks, getting a snack, catching their breath, and they he stopped a little bit in Elam, and so yeah. But I mean, awesome move by Matt. We kind of talked about earlier how we could see him potentially, making a power move. And, obviously he saw in his dogs that they were ready and that they were perfectly capable of doing it. And, um, because I think once Jesse and Matt got to Koyuk, or maybe even when they got to Shaktoolik, they kind of realized the race for first was off. I think in the Insider, um, I think there was even a quote of Jesse saying like, "Oh, I guess I won't see Dallas till Nome," or something like that. Like they realized that at that point, that they were in a race for second place. So, I mean, kudos to Matt Hall for setting his dog team up really well for that power move. And it's gonna get him in second place. So he's fourth place last year, second place this year. So, he's poising himself well to win this race in the future.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to note on that move, it's something that if you watch on the Insider, he talks about it, but he talks about all season setting up for that move specifically. He wanted to do it last year. He said he got to Elam and he didn't feel good about it, so he took a little bit of a break there in Elam. But that was his goal last year, and so he was able to do it this year. And I think the dogs are looking good coming in. He's what kind of speeds are we rocking right now? 7.5 miles, which 950 plus miles in. That's about standard.
Yeah.
Although I would say Dallas, he was cruising. I looked over a few times. He had like 9 miles an hour coming in there.
Yeah,
So
he was cooking.
yeah,
He got here a lot faster than a lot of people thought he would.
certainly. Um, And then another musher that you and I were talking about that is sitting right there at fourth place. That's Jeff Dieter. And for me, the thing I want to note on that is, and you were talking to me, you were like, man, he's about to get his first top 10. And my thought to that was he's getting fourth place. And if you go back to, I forget what the video, it's early on. Let me see if I have a little something here. I think it was like Roan or maybe Rainy Pass. I mean, we're talking like 4 checkpoints in. He's already talking about having to completely like get out of a competitive mindset and just like took the foot off the gas. And this is an example of a musher who's paying attention to his dogs, who's listening to his dogs, and then has them finishing in their peak at the finish. And
Yeah.
him coming in fourth, I'm super impressed with that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's got to get to the Burled Arch, but I mean he's set himself up really well. I mean, from Nulato on, he pretty much, turned on the afterburners. And I know in his last Iditarod, he had a really nice run up the coast, even with a small team. And the thing was is he didn't make any big moves. He was just running a consistent schedule. Not taking little rest, but not taking a whole lot of rest. And he's had a really nice run up the coast with a pretty fast team. So, you know, 2 years ago he had to scratch out in the Topcock Hills. Got caught in that storm, and then last year, Katie Joe ran out of their kennel. So I mean, Jeff has had a really big return to this race. So super happy and excited for him and Katie Joe. He's had, they both have had a really good season. So, congrats to them.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like they've had a great season. I'm drawing a blank because I don't, I'm not quite to the point where I can pull up races the way you mushers do. But what was the race where she really made a push for it, and she was at least like top five, maybe top three?
So they were both top 10 in the Cusco this year.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that was impressive to me, and so, Sean and I were talking about guests to have on our podcast, and I was like, I was trying to get them on because I was just impressed with the season that they were having, and so I'm sure that we'll get them on. Sean's been working with Katie Joe and the Insider, and then we
Yep.
can kind of break down the race with Jeff too. So that's gonna be a fun episode to be determined when it happens.
Oh yeah.
But looking forward to having them on, and kudos to them, and yes, I do want to say, like, he hasn't gotten fourth place yet, but he set himself up well. He has a gap between him and Jesse. However, Travis and Paige are right behind him. He's 923 miles in right now. They're only 6 miles behind him, so he can't just let his foot off the gas yet. And
Yeah,
actually,
I mean,
go ahead.
oh, I was saying no, he's got two. I mean, he's got two very good, very fast dog teams. 6 miles, and they could close that gap. So, but I mean, right now it's definitely looking, like he's going to come in fourth, and then, yeah, Travis and Paige are going to be battling it out for fifth and sixth. That's going to be uh, fun to see.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's actually the exact same thing I was about to say. So, Travis and Paige are both rocking mile 917 right now, and I've been kind of keeping an eye on it for the last hour. They've essentially, like, since they left, they've been White Mountain. They've been pretty close to each other, and I'm super curious to see what happens there. I
Yeah, it's hard to tell when they're that close who's in front of each other, and you're trying to look and like, well, this one was updated 2 minutes ago, this one was updated 3 minutes, so it's like, well, is Paige really ahead of Travis, or is Travis ahead of Paige? So
Yeah,
I'm sure those guys are out there duking it out, ski pulling like crazy.
it'd be kind of cool if we have some footage either there in No Man's Land or coming on to, is it Main Street that you guys are on there in Nome?
Front Street.
Front Street. Um, so it'd be kind of cool to see like two teams duking it out.
Hmm.
My if I have to speculate, this is something I will speculate on since it's fun to see who's going to win this one. I'm putting my money on Paige. I think that her team might be closing out a little bit stronger than Travis's. But that being said, Travis's dogs seem to kind of have bounced back a little bit. And so, maybe having another team right next to his is kind of keeping his dogs, you know, like
Hmm.
looking at something and having a goal or something. I don't know. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts there?
I mean, Paige has been having faster run times, but Travis is known for closing races really well and just, getting that last little push. So just play devil's advocate. I'll take Travis, and then
Nice.
we'll bet a beer on it.
Hey, I like it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get. I'm gonna have to get there in person though to have this beer with you.
Yeah,
I don't want to just have it virtually. So I want to
yeah,
actually cheers with you and enjoy it
yeah,
together.
for
But
sure.
yeah, that sounds like a fun little a bet that we can follow up on down the road. Now we have a couple comments in here, and one thing that I wanted you to do is from Alex. She was talking about Wally has been amazing throughout this race. Super exciting to see. Give us a little update on Wally, and just for me, there's a couple of storylines within this race, and for me, one of my favorite storylines is most certainly Wally just getting a chance to do this again is that in itself is a great story, but to be so successful with so much time in between the Iditarod races, I'm just so blown away by his performance. So yeah, talk to me about it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's it's been an emotional week for sure. I mean, it just really shows how good of a dog man Wally is, right?
Yep,
Um
I'll fix you.
it okay. um no, I mean it's really kudos to him and to the dogs and he's still driving 14 dogs. He got was able to talk to him a little bit more. Leaving Caltag, he was running up all the hills and stuff, and kind of got a little sweaty and was a little dehydrated. And that's why he kind of took that unplanned stop there at Old Woman Cabin, and then took a little longer break there at Unifleet, so he could get some fluid back in him and get some bacon and pizza. But I mean, since then he's been flying. He had the fastest run time to Shaktoolik, went through Shaktoolik, camped. Not even at the shelter cabin, come to find out, before the shelter cabin, actually down on the ice. And then, got to Elam, had the fastest run time to, he had the fastest run time, excuse me, from Koyuk to Elam. And now he's in White Mountain, coming in pretty comfortably in 11th place in the White Mountain. So, incredible race, incredible story, just so proud of him and the dogs, and it's pretty incredible for sure.
Yeah, you know, when we had Emily on the podcast, it was funny because Emily was who we saw on camera, but you knew her whole family was like off to the side, just right
Right.
here. And at the end of it, my thought was, man, I really would love to have talked to her parents because, her success is directly related to them. And I was just thinking to myself, well, I wonder when I would actually have a chance to, and now we have this chance. I'm gonna tell Sean, like, he's one of the first people I want to have on and get his
Yeah.
story. And Emily has had a heck of this season has been one for the books, and her last few seasons are also one for the books. But I definitely think Wally deserves a little credit and
Yep.
his time to shine. So I love this story. I'm certainly glad that it was able to work out for both his sake and then your dog's sake. They get all this experience. I know for
Yep.
you, you've got to be stoked to like get them back for the next season, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
what a
I
thing to
mean,
build on.
yeah. I mean, a team like that, I'm gonna get back. All those dogs are, except for one, are all 3 to 5. So really, he's having an incredible race, and so proud of him and so proud of the dogs. And I can't wait to hear his stories and his experience. And because like, I was watching that Alaska News Source article, and I had no idea that they drug him down the river going through the burn. So I'm excited to hear about those little nuances that we weren't able to talk about over the inReach.
Nice. Nice. I love it. I love it. Um, so there were a few more mushers we were talking about. We were talking about pushes earlier, and that next person that comes to mind on our top 10 is Amanda Otto, man.
Yeah.
She's sitting
Yeah, no.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. She really turned on the afterburners. The last third of the race, we saw the same thing on the Quest 450. She has a very good team. A very good finishing team. And I'm looking at the times in here in the White Mountain, and it's really going to be a battle for eighth, ninth, and 10th, because Amanda's going to be leaving 8 minutes after Jesse Royer, and Pete Kaiser is going to be leaving 4 minutes after Amanda. And Pete's been running just a little bit faster than Amanda has. So I mean, they're gonna have it's gonna be a three-way race for eighth, ninth, and 10th. which will be really exciting to watch.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm curious who like. Okay, so Jessie, she's done this for a while, right?
Yep.
And Pete has done it for a while, but not close to as long as Jessie has.
Yep.
And then you got Amanda in her second, and we watched her run down Travis
Yep.
earlier this season.
Mm-hmm.
So are are you thinking that Amanda maybe out of youth, out of desire, out of it being her only second race, that maybe she has that fire to want to push in front of them? What do you think?
Man, I mean, just looking at the speeds that Pete has been putting up and just seeing how his team finishes in the Cusco, I gotta go with Pete, honestly,
Okay.
out of
Okay.
those three. Um, just because of the experience and the way that his dog team finishes. Now he's only got 8 dogs. Amanda's got 12. So going through, the Top Dog Hills, he could be going a lot slower, and Amanda might kick, have just enough edge to keep in front of him. But I think Pete's got the experience with the dogs to have a really, really strong finish.
Sure. Sure. That's a good point you make. I'm over here trying to sell my point on why I think Amanda's gonna do it, but then you present that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great.
No,
So
I mean, it's really interesting, especially on the Cusco with Pete's dogs, just how they finish. Those last 2 runs to the finish line are really impressive. So it's adding some excitement. I mean, obviously it's exciting to have Dallas win and finish, but when you kind of get these 3 people that are all going to leave within 10 minutes of each other, and Travis and Paige duking it out, it really adds some excitement to the race. So it's gonna be fun. We'll see who's there in the morning.
so take me to like the scene in Nome. So Dallas won, right?
Yep. Yep.
And there was a scene, and there was a celebration and all of that, and then we're not expecting Matt still for where are we at? Let's just see. He's still 10 miles out, right? So we're still at least another hour, right? So what
Yep.
happens in between people coming across the line?
Well, so I mean, today it worked out perfect because everyone was able to come down for the afternoon, and everyone was able to go grab dinner, and Nome's known for its bars, so that's kind of the scene in Nome. As mushers start approaching Front Street, they sound, I think it's the tsunami siren, so the whole town knows that mushers coming, and then as the musher pulls up off the sea ice and the beach onto Front Street. They get a police escort all the way down the street, and then right before they go up in the chute, they got a bunch of snow piled up in the middle of the street that kind of elevates the team. The police officer pulls up, and the dog comes into the chute under the burled arch. So, everyone's just kind of hanging out, watching the trackers, and as the musher gets closer, we'll all kind of pile outside and welcome them home.
That sounds so fun. I've got to figure out a way to get there one way or another.
Yeah, man,
Um,
it's it's incredible. It's so much fun.
so I was going to ask you. You have been to Nome once via the Iditarod, and then how many times have you been to Nome as a spectator?
So in 2017, I I came out here when I was a handler.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah, and I missed the winner that year by, I don't know, like 15 minutes, because that was the year that they set the speed record,
Oh
um,
wow.
when
You
they did
missed
it.
Mitch.
And yeah, in like 8 days and 3 hours or whatever. Just missed it.
Jeez. Jeez. So this is your third time, and is it's like does the town there change at all, or is it like it's just like exactly how you remember it?
I mean, it's exactly how I remember it. A couple places have burnt down, but it's exactly how I remember it.
Nice. I love it. I love it. So I was looking at kind of the other half of the section of the tracker, and there are just a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. And in terms of what we're going to accomplish tonight, we're not doing an hour and a half thing. Josh has been kind enough to just kind of give us a little bit of his take of things in Nome, and I don't want to make this longer than it needs to be. So thank you again for joining.
No
Uh, but
problem.
but yeah, so a couple things. Josie Tier, she's there in 14th place. She's sitting at Elam. She's there with Ryan Reddington and Jason Mackey. Um, you know, again, similar to me, I learned from saying the wrong thing with Jeff there. She has set herself up very well to come across there in Nome and win herself that Rookie of the Year, and she's done a really incredible job.
Yep.
Um, I don't see her jumping up unless something happens kind of to the mushers in front of her. She's got like at least 20 miles difference between the next batch.
Yep.
Um, but it'll be interesting to see. I would love to see if like maybe that caravan of Josie and Ryan, I think they came in around the same time. Maybe if they kind of like push each other along the way to
Yeah.
the finish.
Yeah, they came into Elam 14 minutes apart. So, pretty close. And, even though, we're competing with each other right out there, there's a lot of sportsmanship, and, you end up traveling with people to help keep you motivated and going down the trail. So,
Sure. And then the next thing that kind of caught my eye was Bailey Vitello. He's sitting there at 18th place.
mhm.
He is on his way to Elam, and he. I think last year, this is my take on it. I think last year the race kind of kicked his butt a little bit, and it opened up his eyes. He still finished the race. I
It's
just
tough as a rookie, man. It's tough as a rookie.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen him grow this year, and breaking the top 20 I think is great for him. And he's a high energy guy. He's someone that I would love to get on the podcast as well. Um, so I don't know if you had any thoughts on Bailey, or if you've been kind of paying attention to anything on his end.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of slowly been working his way up through the rankings. Not, he's just one of those guys. He's not doing any crazy moves. He just keeps putting up consistent run times, consistent rests, and he's just, he's slowly moving on up. So, um, yeah, he's gonna hopefully finish in the top 20, and probably learned a whole lot this year for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's just two more mushers that caught my eye. So I was super impressed. We're talking about the rookies here towards the bottom with Laura Kittleson. She arrived to Unalakleet with 15 dogs.
Hmm.
She's dropped 3 dogs, so she's down to 12 now. But it seems like her and maybe Anna Hennessy have kind of partnered up. They seem to be kind of caravanning, at least what I've noticed this last few checkpoints.
Hmm.
Um, but I just, she's running Mitch's team, and, as a rookie coming in there to Unalakleet with 15 dogs, I think that says something about the job that she's doing. And I just thought I would get your comments on that.
No, I mean, coming to Unalakleet with 15 dogs is incredible. It just shows, how well she's managing her team, and she's had one of the best mentors in the business, Mitch. So she's been running a really good race. I know she's got a lot of 2-year-olds in her team, so to manage a young team like that and bring that many dogs that far down the trail is really really impressive. And yeah, she's right on schedule for running a puppy team. So, yeah, really impressive. Impressed by a lot of the rookies this year.
Yeah, certainly. And the other piece that I was gonna point out was, so I think last time when you were on the first time, we kind of talked a little bit about Joshua Robbins, and at the time he was in last place, and it seems as if he's um, come into a little bit more of a zone, or maybe the dogs are doing
Mhm.
better. I don't know if it was the dogs or if maybe he's doing better. Maybe he's gotten some more sleep or just more
Yeah,
comfortable out there. But I've been happy to see him kind of catch up to the rest of the folks.
yeah,
Um, I do, and this is just speculation, but I do have some concerns with Bryce Mumford. He's and what a horrible mile number to be at. He's at mile number 666. I just want to like scream like, please just go like a half mile more and make it say 667.
right.
Um, but yeah, he's still not to Unilaclete, and Joshua just left, or is going to be, excuse me, leaving Unilaclete. So I just wonder at some point, like, can you kind of talk a little bit about that? Sean has given us some perspective on it, but it can be kind of to a sensitive subject for mushers, but like, just talk about what goes into, like, okay, maybe it's not best for him to continue the race, like the race is now, you have the first person finished and he's still over 300 miles away, and I'm not picking on him, I'm just talking about the
Yeah.
situation itself.
So ultimately, you know, if we could have people take as much time as they wanted, that would be amazing, right? But it at the end of the day, it boils down to logistics. Um, to keep these checkpoints open takes a ton of volunteers. I mean, volunteers in the checkpoints, veterinarians, Iditarod Air Force. I mean, you're talking a lot, and a lot of these people are out here volunteering their time, taking time off work, and they have jobs to go back to. um so at the end of the day, they're if a musher gets withdrawn for not being competitive, it's not because they're picking on that musher. It ultimately just boils down to a logistics issue. And I know it's a very sensitive rule, when people get withdrawn for not being competitive, but on the flip side, until you see how much logistics it takes to put on this race and keep checkpoints open, it's hard to understand. So, I I'm looking at it, and they like people to finish before the banquet. The banquet's Sunday night. So if he gets to Unilaclete tonight, today's what's today? Tuesday. I
Yep,
lost.
Tuesday into Wednesday.
So
Still Tuesday there, Wednesday
yeah.
here.
So I mean, at that point, I think he could make it. You know. So obviously, I don't want to see anybody withdrawn, because everyone works so hard to get to the Iditarod and to get down the trail. And so I hope he can make it to Unilaclete and just keep on trucking and make it here by Sunday.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the banquet. Generally speaking, that is something that goes into a decision like this, correct? Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we would like the race to be wrapped up in time for the banquet. So,
Yep. Because and
um,
that way, that's the final thing. They can wrap up, clean up for the race, and everyone can go back to their home.
go back to the real life, the real
Yeah. Yeah.
not race life, but kennel life and dog care life.
Yep.
Um, okay. So that was just the last few things on my mind with that. And the other thing, just in general, kind of going back to Dallas winning this year. One thing that was on my mind that I would love for you to provide some of your opinion on. This year, it kind of felt a little slower than
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know,
Talk
I was
about that.
I was gonna look back. I I'm at the last time that we had a winter that was over 9 days. Um, like I'm trying to, because it seems like in the last several years we've had, our winters have been coming in 8 days. So like, yeah,
Thomas. Thomas and
looking at,
20. Thomas Varner.
he was the last 9 day winner.
Yep.
Okay, so like, yeah, last year Ryan 8 days, 21 hours. Um, looking here, so it was definitely a little slower. I think the weather played a big factor into that, with it being warm and slow, and then with it being super cold, and people trying to get warm in certain areas. Um, so there's a couple different factors that I think slowed the race down. Yeah, looking here, Brent won in 8 days, 14 hours. So yeah, it's been a while, since we've had a 9 day winter, and that's attributed to trail and weather.
Yeah, I mean Dallas. This is his slowest win.
Oh, really?
Just looking at it now. His first win was 9 days and 4 hours, and I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. It was no. He did 9 days and 2 hours for this one. So he was a little bit faster than his first one. And so I mean, like, we don't have to pick that apart, but is there maybe an element to, like, he probably could have finished a little bit faster if people were pushing him?
Uh, Probably. He probably would have finished 2 hours faster if he didn't have a time penalty too.
That's a great point.
But yeah, I mean, if he would have had people pushing him more, he probably could have finished faster. But one thing that I'd like to point out about Dallas, we talk about how tough he is. He did not step foot inside of a checkpoint building, longer than to fill his thermos from Caltech to White Mountain, and it was 45 to 50 below wind chill that whole stretch. I mean, that is somebody that wants to win. So,
That
um,
he I just I'm excited to at some point have Dallas on. Sean and I have talked about getting him on, and Sean worked with Dallas, so it's not, I don't think it'd be too hard to do, but
mhm.
uh I really just want to pick his brain. He just seems, I've said it before, like a masochist, but like the ability for that man to suffer and to just, like, it's not really much of a thing, I
Mhm.
mean, he was running into the burled arch there, then he ran around with his dog, and
Yeah.
he looked like he was ready to go run a marathon or something.
Yeah.
So, it just impresses me, the man's ability to suffer and suffer better than most people know how to.
Yep. Yep. So, and that's why
Yeah.
he wins. One of the many reasons why he wins.
Well, let me just double check here. Anything else here? Faith, I'm glad that you got a chance to join, even though it is the middle of the night. Sean was asking, not my brother Sean, a different Sean was asking about Sean. So yeah, we'll give him a quick shout out. So it just says here, Sean, your brother, he's doing a great, stellar job. I'm so proud of my brother. I really am. I think he's doing a great job. Um, we haven't really seen his face on camera, and I think that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I'm excited to see how crazy his hair is when he gets here to Nome. I don't know if he's been able to shower since he's been on the trail, so I'm expecting something wild.
Someone, I forget who was saying it, that he's kind of got a Sebastian Schnull vibe going on with the hair where it's just like out everywhere.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But no, your brothers, he has brought a ton of life to the life to the live stream, and I know a lot of people really appreciate what he's done, and I know I have because I get to see my team in the checkpoints.
Yeah, and just it's nice that someone's manning those, and so I'm glad that I've been able to rock this thing out, and I hope that those who've tuned in have enjoyed it. The whole purpose of this was to break down the races with people that actually know about the race and have some fun doing it in the process, and make mushers like Josh accessible, and would do it live so you could come on and ask questions. And um, I'm I may take this format over to the podcast as well, where maybe once a month we talk about doing something like this where people can come and join and ask questions and just have a good time. So anyways, Josh, very appreciative of your time. Thanks for coming back on with me. And
Thanks for having me. It's been
yeah,
fun.
we wish you the best of luck. I think you were talking about a procedure with your shoulder tomorrow. Is that still?
So Wally's getting here a lot faster, so that's why I had to come to Nome earlier than thought. So, but it'll be happening soon. It'll be happening
Gotcha.
soon.
Well, best of luck with your recovery. And yeah, we will be in touch, sir.
All right. Thanks.